Thanks for being with us for round one of the BP Supercars All Stars Eseries. We are racing this evening at Phillip Island, one of the best permanent racetracks in Australia. Let's jump now into the Hino Hub once again with Crompo as we reset for race two.
Jess, Hino Hub, race number 2 will be over the journey of 12 laps, and this one turn it on might help a lot, Neil. This one over the journey of 12 laps, so it'll be 71 kilometres an hour. That was virtual Neil talking in the background before, by the way. And they're once again going to start with 61 litres of fuel. They'll burn a bit more of it through the process of this one. Hotspots around here, well, there's 3 of them. Compulsory pit stop. Here's the important stuff that we need to get to. Reverse grid. Now, will they turn Rick Kelly's car around in time from the shunt? I'm thinking they will. Jamie Whincup was down the order in that first race, so he's going to recover. I didn't mention earlier on, by the way, folks, 75 points to win the first 2 races. This is a championship that they'll be contributing to. The weather is locked once again, and track state will vary as it rubbers in, and the tyres will be cold once more. So a little bit longer this one, and reverse grid, so we can guarantee that we're going to see some action, 100%.
We certainly are. Well, let's cross to Rick Kelly, our pole sitter, who's standing by for us. Rico, that was a pretty big shunt that you had there. I don't know that we've ever quite seen an accident like that in iRacing. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I had to quickly duck up to the fridge and get an ice pack. I had a fair headache after that. I obviously had a bit of overlap with one of the cars. I don't even know who it is, and I'm real nervous to be on the front of the grid. Normally not so bad for me, but here I've got no idea what I'm doing, so we're just going to have to try and not crash.
Well, the setup looks fantastic. I can see you've put a great deal of effort into the sim and everything around it. Congratulations for that. You'll start from pole position. This has actually worked in your favour because you're right at the pointy end now. So what's your strategy? How do you get off the mark? There was a fair bit of chaos on the opening lap in the last race. How do you avoid all of that?
Well, actually, my steering wheel come off in quali, so I've put a ratchet strap on it here. I'm hoping on the first lap it can stay on there. That's going to be priority number 1, and from there I'll see if I don't crash.
Well done. We love it. Looking forward to an entertaining race. All the very best. Rick Kelly will start from pole position for race 2 at Phillip Island tonight. Let's dive into the Truck Assist starting grid and take a look at how they'll line up. Maddie, this is going to be an interesting one with a total grid reversal.
How's the camping chair that he's sitting on as well? Rick Kelly spends more time in the air than on the track at race 1 and will be the pole sitter here for race 2 in our Truck Assist grid. So Jack Smith and Lee Holdsworth from row 2, David Reynolds and Mark Winterbottom. Both of those had a bit of fun in race 1. Todd Hazelwood and Scotty Pye, positions 7 and 8. 9 goes to Chris Pither in the Coca-Cola entry. Alex Davison, car number 19 from position 10. Then it's Zane Goddard. Jamie Whincup started at the rear of the field, so made up 12 spots in that race. He starts midfield again. Macaulay Jones, Bryce Fullwood in 13 and 14. The Milwaukee racer Will Davison has Gary Jacobson alongside him. Then it's Chaz Mostert, Anton De Pasquale. This is where all the action's going to come from. The back of this grid. Nick Percat, Shane Van Gisbergen, as Crompo mentioned, this one's longer, 16 laps, a compulsory pit stop. Kostecki and Heimgartner. Then Cam Waters, Fabian Coulthard from Shell V-Power Racing, position number 24, and his teammate, the winner of race 1, to start from the very rear of the field. What could possibly go wrong now?
Well, I can think of any number of different things. What did fascinate me before, looking over Rick's left shoulder, it looks as though he's got a fairly hefty portrait of himself on the back wall down there. So we'll go back and have a look at that a little bit later on. Alex Davison, local legends Holden Commodore, and he's driving for Team Sydney. 40 years of age, he's the oldest driver in the field. Todd Hazelwood, Brad Jones Racing, plus fitness entry. He's got the race suit on. You never know when your bedroom's going to burst into flames, so you can't be too careful. He's on top of that. Rick Kelly there. Look, now, is that or is that not a shot of himself in the background
it's
with the jacket
Kramer.
on?
It's
Come
Kramer.
on, everyone's telling me it's Kramer. We're supposed to play a game here a little bit and just enjoy the fact that it could be Rick over his left shoulder.
Things happen fast in the virtual world, mate. You need answers very, very quickly. Jack LeBrock, super cheap auto racer, so he gets a front row view of turn 1 here at Phillip Island on a beautiful evening. The weather hasn't changed.
18 degrees, overcast. Cam Waters.
Never said that in my life.
No.
I'm here at Phillip Island, the weather hasn't changed. That's the scenario. So if you just joined this one, the weather is locked, the setups are locked. Frosty's getting as much action as he can in the Irwin entry. So he will start from much further up the grid, obviously. So strategy for this one, there's a compulsory pit stop at 71 kilometres worth of race distance. As Neil said, it's worth 75 points. The fuel will make it to the end, so they'll have to stop for those 4 tyres, and we're looking at 25.5 seconds transit time throughout pit lane. So this will be a completely different scenario to the crash and bang that we saw in the first race, which was short, sharp and punchy over 9 laps. Lethal looks as though he's confused. Let's get our pit reporters on the case here, Chad Nayland and Jonathan Simon. How's this one going to unfold, fellas?
Well, it's a great question. I think there's going to be plenty more crash and bang in this one because the guys who are starting off the front few rows are very new to this game. Now, quickly, Jonathan, when can we expect to see this all-important pit stop happen?
So the pit window for this 16-lap event will be around laps 6 to 10, of course. The best of the tyre life in these cars, at a circuit, by the way, Chad, where the tyre degradation is quite high, is around about 4 laps. And after that, the tyres begin to drop off. So about laps 6 to 10 is that pit window that will start to open.
All right, so the scenario is relatively simple. Pit early if you're one of the fast guys at the back to get that clean racetrack, but if you pit too early, you might have to pay for it later on in the race with old tyres.
And the other thing that you need to take into account is traffic effect, because it's exactly as it would be in reality. So if you get parked up underneath anybody, you might need to change the strategy so that you can get into the lane and try and clear who you're racing. So from the Armour All pole position, Rick Kelly, Castrol Racing, Jack LeBrock from row 2, position number 2, Jack Smith next in the queue. Then we've got Lee Holdsworth. And we are set for this 16-lapper, 12 turns at Phillip Island, 71 Ks, as Maddie said. Compulsory stop. They do actually refuel the cars within the time it takes to do the 4 wheels and tyres, but they don't need to. It's pretty tight on fuel. It's not really an issue to manage as such. But it will be for race number 3 coming up later in the broadcast when the cars go to Monza. Onboard shot, the car still in neutral. Somebody in the rehearsal earlier in the week actually managed to start the race in neutral, which never works too flash. We're set to go racing now. Race number 2, the BP Supercars All Stars Eseries at Phillip Island, and all the cars have now appeared. A ripping start by Jack LeBrock for Super Cheap Auto Racing. Andre Heimgartner right at the back of the field. Rick Kelly also getting a very good start. He's parked up on the outside though. That's an awkward place at turn 1, and big trouble and into the gravel and off at very high speed.
That had trouble written all over it going into turn 1. They were 3 wide. Mark Winterbottom got an awkward early jump and then found himself in the middle of traffic. Some of those further back have speared off into the grass. So Jack LeBrock has the lead over David Reynolds.
Turn 4 will be catastrophe for that mid-pack. They'll be all over each other. LeBrock's got a margin at the moment, so he wasn't attacked under brakes, but do the rest of them get through there cleanly without having virtual bits and pieces? A massive metallic cuddle going on down there in the mid-pack. People going every which way. So it's LeBrock, I think, from Reynolds, then Frosty, and here's Rick.
So Rick's position 4. He's got Todd Hazelwood behind him. Would have been sweating there because he looked early on as though he may have found a little bit of trouble out of turn 4. Down towards MG, and Rick finds trouble down there at 10. It was always coming. You could just feel it. He's a magnet at the moment for it.
So have a look at the sides of Lee Holdsworth's and Chaz Mostert's car. Truck Assist Mustang on the left, car number 5. Chaz Mostert for Mobile One and Appliances Online Racing. Huge side damage on those cars. Hazelwood on the outside here. They are 4 wide on the Gardner Straight in the run to turn 1. What could possibly go wrong down the bottom here?
And look at this. You're looking around positions 11 and lower, and you've got genuine pace, including the last race winner of Scott McLaughlin in here, up to the Southern Loop. Who's in trouble? Who gets through? Andre Heimgartner, the Ned Mustang, car number 7. He's position 7 now. Will Davison's behind him. Scott McLaughlin, then the man you're riding with, the Red Bull Holden racer of Shane van Gisbergen, has a look on the outside.
Todd Hazelwood actually just fired off under brakes on the run into turn 4. Trouble for Holdsworth once more, and Gizzy gets turned. So Will Davison grabs him. Gary Jacobson rips the rear wing off Shane van Gisbergen's car, and Rick Kelly in the Castrol Mustang trawling through turn 4. We need a stenographer to be able to track what's going on here. Jess is furiously riding those that are in trouble at the moment. So the whole rear end is missing off Gizzy's car. So left rear damage. It's about to get shorter in the wheelbase by about 2 metres.
And Jack Smith just decided to virtually drive straight through car number 97. So this will untangle it for us. Todd Hazelwood first off on the left-hand side. Now there's contact there between Will Davison and was it Lee Holdsworth?
Yeah, Lee Holdsworth, Will Davison, Shane Van Gisbergen, Gary Jacobson and Rick in the background. It looked as though Todd Hazelwood got out of shape all on his own in that process. So here's the replay. So Todd actually got away with all that. Going off on the approach of turn 4 probably helped him a little. So Shane's car does not look too flash. Jack Smith also giving him a helping hand, teaching him a bit of sprint car action over the top of the hill on the run towards Hayshed and Lukey Heights.
2 supercars become 1. Jack LeBrock thinks it is Christmas. Only lap 3 out of 16, but he has a 1.83 second lead over David Reynolds. There's Jack LeBrock's super cheap auto bunker at home. Right, let's take a breath. Mark Winterbottom 3rd, Chaz Mostert 4th. Remember, he started way back. Bryce Fullwood 5th, then it's Heimgartner, Anton De Pasquale, the pole sitter from race 1. Will Davison, position number 8. Then it's Fabian Coulthard and Nick Percat make up our top 10.
This is Bryce Fullwood we're riding with at the moment. Car number 2, 21 years of age. Made his Virgin Australia Supercars Championship debut at Sandown in 2018, originally out of the Northern Territory. From Darwin, now resident in Melbourne, and he was the big signing for Mobil 1 Racing and Walkinshaw Andretti United in the off-season. So he's got the modem simulation going on the right-hand side of screen. LeBrock, Reynolds, Winterbottom, Mostert, Fullwood. So the teammates are 4th and 5th at the moment. Andre Heimgartner next, then De Pasquale, Will Davison. Actually, Fabian's just moved up and Will's dropped back a bit in that group. So it's a decent margin that Jack's got going at the moment, so no great pressure. And Davey finds himself in a very good position and he's listening on the line. Hey Davey, it's Neil. How you tracking, mate? You're P2. How about that?
Oh no, Neil, I'm as surprised as you are, to be honest. I don't know what's going on. It's reverse grid, isn't it? Yeah, that's why.
It's exactly why. But we spoke earlier in the week and you said this wasn't a game where you were likely to show your peak performance, shall we say?
Yeah, it's not reality, so there's no peak. So, 20 years of my life, I've learned to drive a car, feeling the grip of the tyre and everything. So it's all removed and all the fear and everything is gone. So it's a bit weird for me.
What's the hardest thing to acclimatise to?
The hardest thing is, I don't know, just doing a lap, not crashing, and then not wanting to crash into anyone else, because my natural reaction is just to belt someone up there. So I want to catch up to LeBrock so I can give him a good hiding.
Hey Davey, it's Matty. You had your Super Mario outfit on earlier. I reckon if you win this race, you have to race with it on at Monza next.
Hey man, I want to race with it. I really do, but I'm not allowed to, so I'm sorry. But every week I'll try and qualify with something weird on.
Okay, mate. You're on lap 5 out of 16. Have fun. We'll check in later.
There's 16 laps?
Yes.
What's that about? I can't do that.
You've got a compulsory pit stop as well.
No, I can't compute all this. I'm just flat out just staying on the track.
Yeah, don't forget the CPS. Don't forget the compulsory stop, Davey.
We might give you a ring back and let you know when you need to stop.
I tell you what I'll do. I'll send you
away because you ruined my flight.
I'll send you a text to let you know that you should stop. Let's go back down to our expert pit reporters, Chad, Jonathan.
If you see any experts, let us know. We have been keeping a very close eye on the pitters so far. Now, Anton De Pasquale and Scott McLaughlin have both made their pit stops already. And we believe that there's a very good chance they could come out effectively in the lead of this race.
Yeah, looking at our numbers, fellas, it looks like Anton De Pasquale is the effective leader, and this is what we were discussing throughout the past week, is that the leaders in this reverse grid race were going to pit earlier to keep themselves out of traffic, Chad, and now that's what Anton De Pasquale and Scott McLaughlin have done, and that means they're in clear air now to lap away, and they could end up in front of everybody else once the pit stop phase ends.
So despite starting at the back of the grid, it's not impossible that the 99 and the 17 could be fighting for the win of this race.
Thanks, boys, for the update. So Anton's actually climbed over the top of Scotty now for the first car in the queue that's actually taken the stop. Now, the transit time, including getting the wheels and tyres on, is about 25.5 seconds on average. It will vary from driver to driver, car to car. And if you look at that margin between the race leader, that is Jack Le Brocq at the moment, and the first car in the queue that has stopped, which is Anton De Pasquale, we're talking about a margin of 26 seconds. So to the point that the boys were making a few moments ago, they will come out at or very close to the lead.
It's interesting there. That's our first onboard view of a pit stop. It's pretty much all the same, minus the people and the equipment. You've got to get into pit lane. You've got a pit lane speed limiter to enforce. Oh, this could be interesting. Down here at turn 1 on the rejoin. Oh! Just sneaks on past. So you've got to make your box 2 in pit lane, Crompo. If you don't, the video game will enforce you to get back into it. Actually, in the practice race, Chris Pither had to grab reverse in pit lane, which in the real world, big no-no. In this world, it's an okay.
Chaz Mostert lurking up here on the inside. Try to go the long way round at turn 4. Paddle shift. Back to second gear for the right-hander at 4. And he's putting pressure on Anton De Pasquale. So Mostert is now split De Pasquale and McLaughlin. Race leader is Jack Le Brocq over a surprised David Reynolds. Bryce Fullwood in 3rd position. Andre Heimgartner in 4th. Fabian Coulthard in 5th. They make a lot of tyre howl, don't they? There's a fair bit of understeer going through Hayshed. 3rd gear up over the top of Lukey Heights. Looking rearward from the Penrite Racing Erebus entry, and we're watching Chaz Mostert applying pressure. He did a little bit of sim racing back in the day and then hasn't been so close to it in the recent past, but perched up there on the Gold Coast at the moment and working hard in the recent weeks to try and get the most out of his sim racing and e-racing game, and he's doing a pretty good job. So he's showing good pace at the moment because De Pasquale's been tipped as one of the absolute pros at being able to get the most out of lap speed in these cars and this type of racing, and he's making good ground on it at the moment. He had a nice little slide going through turn 1.
Chaz started the year with the 2 races at the Superloop Adelaide 500 with a 7th and a 2nd. At his new home at Walkinshaw Andretti United, the Mobile One Appliances online Commodore is doing a good job here. He's just one of those drivers that can easily get himself into a routine. Like you say, Crompo, he's had to come up to speed quite quickly in this format. Oh, he had to grab it there as he applies pressure on Anton De Pasquale out of turn 4. Round 5 at Siberia up towards the Hayshed. So Jack Le Brocq leads. You might see it on our leaderboard there as B. Le Brocq. There's a couple of variances in there that the name's been taken on the iRacing, so he's had to put his name in as Jack B. Le Brocq, and that's how it's come out on our graphics. You've got to get your head around a whole bunch of other stuff.
Team Cool Drive entry of Macaulay Jones. Right-hand side of screen.
A couple of onlookers.
They rang me from BJR yesterday, and they, Paul Scalzo and Brad Jones, and they started an engineering pre-brief. They wanted to know about tyre deg, fuel saving, the benefit of the draft. Macca's got the eyes on here at the moment into turn 1, and Coulthard is our leader. First car in the queue that has stopped remains. No, it's not De Pasquale. It's actually showing as Jack Le Brocq at the moment.
I think because Jack just went in.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the margin is 22-odd seconds race leader to the first car in the queue that stopped. Remember, there is a compulsory pit stop in this race. So who's that?
That's Chris Pither rejoining.
Okay.
So halfway here, lap 8 out of 16. Don't forget, we've got a 19-lapper coming up from Monza. Australian Supercars around the famous Italian circuit. It is one to see as Chris Pither goes to work on rejoining and getting back into that groove. So Fabian Coulthard, Cam Waters, Macaulay Jones, Todd Hazelwood are those yet to stop.
Originally from Palmerston North, a Kiwi, yet another of the fast Kiwis, Chris Pither, based in Melbourne these days. 78 Virgin Australia Supercar race starts. He's a former Dunlop Super 2 Series winner, driving the Team Sydney car. Coca-Cola, he almost tipped that thing over. Must have the world's highest roll centre, or he hit the curb pretty hard.
Back on he goes.
Got away with it.
So that was his, remember, that was his out lap after processing through pit lane. He's not the first, and will never be the last down here to get it up on 2 wheels at the hairpin.
Oops.
So the question for Coulthard, Waters, Jones and Hazelwood is, when do they blink? When do they dive into pit lane?
centre of gravity before. They're always talking about virtual nonsense. So, Lee Holdsworth on screen.
So something's never changed.
Something's never changed. Spoke to Lee a little bit earlier on today, and he said the hardest thing to come to terms with is just to do enough laps to ultimately end up with the right brake pedal feel and brake sensitivity. He's in the truck assist entry driving for Tickford Racing. We're on lap 9 of 16. Race 2, Phillip Island, BP Supercars All Stars Eseries, the first round. Race number 3 coming up a little bit later, where we'll transport all to Monza, one of the great Grand Prix tracks. Coulthard Waters, Macaulay Jones, Todd Hazelwood, so they're running longer before they take their stop. And this is the sweet spot, ideally, if you're not being held up by another car, to be able to come in, grab fresh tyres and go again. Remember, they still have tyre degradation. They still have to deal with cold tyres. And the first car in the timing screen at the moment that has stopped and taken that compulsory stop is Jack LeBrock.
So Macaulay Jones and Todd Hazelwood have just gone into the pits, so that leaves Fabian Coulthard and Cameron Waters as those yet to pit. You're on board here with Scotty Pye, DeWalt Racing Team 18 Holden Commodore. Scotty finishing race 1 down in 18th.
Driving this year for Charlie Schwerkolt. Team change for him across the summer season. And Charlie put a huge effort physically, mentally, financially into raising the stakes for that team going into the 2020 season, taking it to a 2-car operation together with Mark Winterbottom in the Irwin Racing entry. And Scott Pye jumping in the number 20 car, 30 years of age, 224 Virgin Australia Supercar Championship race starts. Started making a name for himself internationally as the 2010 British Formula 4 champion. He was runner-up in the Dunlop Super 2 Series a couple of years ago. Remember, he had that awesome win at the Australian Grand Prix several years back in those wet and dying light conditions. Also had a pole in Virgin Australia Supercars Championship competition at Adelaide in 2016.
He was on the podium here that year as well with a 3rd place, and out of those 224 career starts, celebrated number 200 at this circuit. Currently he's in position 14, so we have 2 drivers at the top of the tree who are yet to pit in Coulthard and Waters. Then it's Jack LeBrock, Anton De Pasquale. So now those 2 drivers that I mentioned have gone into pit lane, so the order will correct itself now. LeBrock, our race leader. Then it's Pasquale, second, De Pasquale. Chaz Mostert, Bryce Forward, Scotty McLaughlin, Andre Heimgartner. David Reynolds inside the top 10. Still can't believe his luck. Fabian Coulthard, Lee Holdsworth, and Zane Goddard as well. So they're racing on the iRacing platform here, which is the platform for online simulation. You've seen as we go around from house to house and garage to garage that they've got different setups. They've got different mechanics, if you like, behind it, the different simulator setups. But this iRacing platform is huge around the world. 80 different tracks, 230 configurations, 50 official series globally that they run. They run 6 World Championships a year, Crompo, and there's $300,000 US up for grabs prize money.
Hang on, I'm just signing in now.
I knew you were logging in. So great to have our supercars.
By our reckoning now, everybody has stopped. So looking up and down the leaderboard, everybody's taken that stop. So nice play, Jack LeBrock. In a strong position here at the moment with a 2-second margin over Anton De Pasquale. And then it's a similar gap back to Chaz. So those drivers got the benefit of fresh air. You do get some gain from getting a tow from another car. We'll probably see more evidence of that, in particular at Monza in the next stop, race 3 of the first round of the series. There's the Super Cheap Auto Racing Tickford Mustang, Jack LeBrock. Got a handy margin at the moment. Mostert's actually getting a little bit closer to the back of De Pasquale. Bryce Forward again showing good speed. Scott McLaughlin is a little further behind Bryce Forward. There's Anton.
So the expectation, Crompo, is that the tyres will sort of plateau out at the end and the degradation won't be as heavy as what we'd normally see. Is that what we're expecting?
They made a change at iRacing coming into this race meeting. I'm going to try and get all the descriptions correct here. and they updated the behaviour of the cars and the tyres on the way in. So several days ago, I think they reworked the tyre degradation. So first 3 or 4 laps they hurt a little bit, and then they start to plateau. And it still takes a considerable amount of skill to master the art, to be able to figure out just how hard you can lean on those tyres, just how much accelerator you can use, just how much fuel you burn, particularly when you get into a fuel race, is going to be critical for your standstill and refuel time. Lost it. Mobil 1 Appliances Online Racing for Walkinshaw Andretti United. He's in 3rd position at the moment. He's come up a whole bunch of spots. Remember, they started out with a reverse grid configuration for this race. Every time I hear the onboard audio, I'm compelled to say there's a plug lead missing, because it sounds like they're on 7 cylinders, but they're not, because the lap speed still looks good. I speak with a virtual fork tongue.
The virtual camera work is stunning. We're getting all the regular angles that you're used to in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship as we zero in on position number 6 of Andre Heimgartner, the 20-year-old Kiwi. He's actually on the podium here at Phillip Island in the main game. On the Sunday race here last year, started the season with an 11th and a 10th, a little bit of a shimmy through the steering wheel around the loop.
He raced his Formula 1 sim game earlier in the week. Albert Park qualified 15th, came home 16th in a wild race. Had a hell of a race with the former Formula 1 world champion Jenson Button, so cool performance for Andre. We'll jump down to Melbourne once more and catch up with Chad and Jonathan.
Watching this really intriguing battle between Anton De Pasquale as he tries to reel in Jack Le Brocq at the moment. Last time by, Jonathan, he was half a second quicker, and this time by on this lap, he's a couple tenths up against. There's a chance we might be in for a last lap showdown.
Exactly, and just as you were discussing, Matt Crompo, that these tyres are starting to plateau. So what that means now is that De Pasquale is going to be on the same level playing field as Jack Le Brocq come the end of the race.
Also worth noting, a few of these drivers have their real-life engineers acting as spotter. So in the iRacing function, there is the ability to have someone essentially call the shots from wherever they might need to be. And for Scott McLaughlin, that's actually his real-life race engineer right now.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. So lifelike. I mean, it's amazing the imagery we're seeing. And at times, you just swear you're at Phillip Island, watching our Supercars game, hearing our Supercars game, and feeling the passion. That's what it's all about. We're here for 10 rounds of the BP Supercars All Stars Eseries. We're going to go to places like Silverstone and Barcelona, Spa, Nürburgring, Circuit of the Americas in Texas, where we've raced before, Daytona Speedway, can't wait for that, Talladega Speedway, we're going to get there as well. Oran Park, we're bringing back Oran Park, and of course Mount Panorama a couple of times.
Out to Narellan we go, so that'll be cool.
Have to dodge a few houses at the moment.
Yes, it's a little more congested than it once was. We're also off to Road America to Elkhart Lake in Wisconsin, which is a gorgeous racetrack. And that was a nasty moment for Bryce Fullwood just at Siberia. It just twitched sideways as he carried the brake down to the late apex on that corner. And he's got Scott McLaughlin with his race face well and truly on as they run through the right-hander at Hayshed. Sounded in the background like he didn't quite get through there flat. So those tyres have dropped off in grip, and maybe he doesn't quite have the balance to get through there flat. Closes up a little under brakes through the right-hander.
So Jack Le Brocq at the lead of this race is going to have a handful of Anton De Pasquale all over him in a second, because he's just 8 tenths back. Then it's Chaz Mostert, Bryce Fullwood. And you can see out the front the Shell V-Power racer of the man you're riding with down Gardner Straight here, Scott McLaughlin,
who carried great speed through the final corner. So he made a couple of kilometres an hour in the mid-corner, and you can see the effect that that has at the end of the straight, precisely as it is in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. So now sweat's all over the back of him. Tries to get the crisscross going, and Bryce having none of it. So sometimes drivers will just sit the car up a little bit higher with that double apex left-hander at turn 2, through the southern loop, flat through turn 3. It's a gorgeous corner. And the right-hander at turn 4, second gear. Fullwood uses a bit more curb than McLaughlin, up to third gear. And on the right-hand side of screen, this is the battle between Le Brocq and De Pasquale. We're in the closing stages, race 2 of the BP Supercars All-Star E-Series race at Phillip Island. Up next, a venue change. We're off to Italy.
Now, I said that De Pasquale was closing in on Jack Le Brocq, and it's getting tighter and tighter. Now down to 0.3 of a second. 15 out of 16 in terms of lap numbers. And that's close again as Scott McLaughlin continues to pressure Bryce forward for position 4. So at the moment, the podium is LeBrock, De Pasquale and Mostert. And Bryce Forward's main job here is going to be holding off the winner of race 1. Has he got it down the straight? Nudges him to the left, holds the line on the inside. Has McLaughlin got the pace to loop him around the outside? He won't. He'll have a look and try and position for a move at the exit of the Southern Loop. It's a repeat performance here from the youngster Bryce Forward, holding off the 2-time series champ.
So it would be a brave exercise to go around the outside at turn 1 because the track grip does vary in iRacing, just as it would in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. This is the battle for the lead, and LeBrock skates it in on the rear brake into 4. Anton De Pasquale tries to capitalise on it. Mostert not very far behind. This is the battle for the podium. First and second is far from resolved. Officially, that's 0.18 of a second. Anton's been very good in practice. This has shaken things up, the reverse grid race. LeBrock, Tickford, Super Cheap Auto Racing have done a nice job to get him up there. He's done an awesome job over the top of the hill and he still commands the race lead. He covers to the right. Anton running the long way round when they get to the right-hander. 2 corners remain in race number 2. LeBrock is barely clinging to this at the moment. Anton puts in the maximum effort. He's right under the back of it. He might get the benefit of the draft. He pokes the nose in.
Oh, contact!
They make contact. He shoves him wide. Now that might raise some eyebrows as De Pasquale goes down the inside and grabs the victory by a couple of car lengths from a displaced Jack LeBrock.
How did they stay on the circuit? Unbelievable. Chaz Mostert in 3rd position. We're going to have to take a look at it. A sweat on the brow for Anton De Pasquale. He currently has the victory next to his name. Jack LeBrock 2nd by 3/10. Chaz Mostert 3rd. Then it was Forward. Scott McLaughlin. So Bryce held out Scott. Andre Heimgartner in position 6. Let's call on Craig Baird. What did you think of that, Beardo?
Yeah, a little bit forceful there from McLaughlin. We're just looking through the replays now. It's certainly not up far enough. Had a lunge. De Pasquale. Looks like we're going to be handing a penalty out here. We'll come back to you in 2 seconds.
Thanks, Beardo, in the bunker on the Gold Coast. So, question mark over the way in which Anton De Pasquale got that done. In the practice rehearsal earlier in the week, there was contact between Anton and Shane van Gisbergen. Here's the replay. He dives up the inside, a very difficult thing to do here. He just makes contact with the left rear corner of Jack's car. LeBrock was lucky to save it because under any circumstance with the back of the car so light and that part of the racetrack, it's so easy to spin. And Mostert nearly climbed over Jack to get 2nd place there in the end. These are provisional results on the BP Ultimate Results table for you. Phillip Island, race number 2. De Pasquale, LeBrock, Mostert, 1, 2 and 3. A question mark over the podium. Then Forward, McLaughlin, Heimgartner. Goddard's done a great job. Van Gisbergen, Fabian Coulthard and Nick Perk at the top 10. Cam Waters, Jacobson Pye, Macaulay Jones, Davey Reynolds 15th after sitting as high as 2nd for a while. Davison, Winterbottom, Pither, Hazelwood, Jamie Whincup in 20th position from Jack Smith, Rick Kelly and Lee Holdsworth, who had some damage.
Let's take a look at the Koala race highlights. So race 2 of the BP Supercars All Stars E-Series. The first reverse grid race of this championship meant that Rick Kelly started from pole position, but he quickly found himself in a fair bit of trouble. You're on board here with David Reynolds as Jack Smith just speared off to the right for some unknown reason, and this was trouble all over. And that's what happens down there at turn 1. I mentioned Rick in a bit of drama in the Castrol Mustang. Up over the hill, and Lee Holdsworth and Rick come to blows down at turn 10. So once this drama started to unfold, this was Shane van Gisbergen's undoing at the exit of the hairpin as he rejoined and whacked into car 35. Jack Smith's back on the circuit and almost vanished into car number 97. So it was all going on. Looks like he'd had a bit of a haircut, the Red Bull Holden. And Chris Pither gets it up on 2 wheels and couldn't get it back down in a straight line. And then it all came down to this, the last turn of a 16-lap race. De Pasquale with plenty of pace, putting plenty of pressure on Jack LeBrock in the Super Cheap Auto Mustang. So the Penrite Racing Commodore nudges past, but Craig Baird, our driving standards advisor, has his eyes on this one. We got ourselves an asterisk, Jess.
The breaking news, Maddie, a penalty has been handed down to Anton De Pasquale from Craig Baird for that contact with Jack Le Brocq. So Jack Le Brocq is our race winner for race 2. I think he'll be very, very happy with that news.